Iran is going to be a major threat to Islam, not just in Iran, but globally, right? Especially in the Middle East. In the same way that in 1979, the Islamic Republic becoming a major contributor to Islamism growing in the Middle East and around the world, I think a free, secular, democratic Iran is going to have a huge impact beyond the borders of Iran. And I think Islamism is going to be threatened everywhere in the region, not just in Iran. So I think they should be afraid, and I see why they would be against it if they knew what's about to come. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, guys, what's the revolution? I just want to add something to this. I really do think, and I'm going to be one of the many people who's going to be encouraging it. I think after the Islamic Republic falls, we're going to go hunting because we are very, very angry. We are very, very angry, and we want people to pay because the people who are killing Iranians right now, they came from outside of Iran. Many of them came from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Iraq. So once we're done with settling scores with the Iranians who are part of the regime who were killing Iranians, the people who were part of the Islamic Republic, then after that we have to go for everyone else. And I think that it would be it would be a crime if we don't go and annihilate anything remaining from Hezbollah, Hamas, Hashd Shabi, Zainabiyun, Fatimiyun, anybody that has ever been a member of any of these groups, we have to go find them, hunt them down for as long as it takes, as for whatever they're hiding. We have to find them in whatever hole they're finding and making sure that we make it a mission of the Islamic Republic that we erase every single person that had anything to do with any of these groups and wipe them out. We have to wipe them out in a way that as if they never existed. We have to wipe them out in a way that people even doubt that they were ever such a thing to begin with. That's how thorough we have to be with erasing these people from history. And I promise you that many Iranian people feel the same way after the crimes they committed in Iran. Many Iranian people feel the same way, and we're going to be fighting to make sure that happens. The Jews already did that after the Holocaust. Once the Nazis failed, they went and hunted Nazis all around the world, and one by one they eliminated everybody who was involved in the murdering of Jews. So we're going to just do something like that, but times 100. Okay, Austin, you wanted to say something?
Sure. I want to interject like on so many points that you say because, but I don't know if I could just casually, if it's conversation style, I can also just wait. I think people have doubt. I have doubt. The Iranian Islamic Republic of Islamic regime is using plausible deniability. They go, "Oh no, we're not funding the proxies." I just heard Javi or Zarif the other day. We already gave money to proxies, but there was a hostility there. So that point, it's not concrete in people's minds that who is the funder. That's a dark area, and we have to. I would use logic to say this is a type of country that they don't let information out. This is a North Korea. This is a North Korea style thing. This is how controlled it is.
But
And
Hassan, just to be clear, that we have plenty of undeniable evidence regarding who's funding who. The Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas are funded and supported and trained by the Islamic Republic is undeniable, and they have admitted that internally to their own audience. So
I
just
haven't seen
because
that
Zarif goes
rhetoric in
and
the
out,
media.
yeah, but they have admitted that on Islam on their state TV to the Iranian people on their own state TV. So this is
I
undeniable.
find that and heighten that because in the regular media,
Yeah.
I don't see that rhetoric. I only see that rhetoric on Israeli, on
They
on
consider
Fox.
to in let me tell you something. In Iran, on Seda Sima state TV, they brag about that all of these groups are the army of Khamenei, and they consider all of these areas to be their empire and their territory. They say that they brag to the Iranian audience that they have expanded their borders all the way from Iran to Iraq to Lebanon to Syria. I mean, before they
Yeah.
lost all of this
I
because of
haven't seen
Israel.
any of these videos.
Well,
I don't speak Farsi very well or understand it at that fast. Is that one reason I may not be seeing these? Because I'm not seeing this. And so for me, it's my distrust toward potentially right wing or warring facets that whenever I hear it from that side, I go, oh yeah, they keep saying it, but if that would give me more evidence, if I saw it coming out of their mouth, I don't see it out of their mouth. I don't speak Farsi. Maybe they're trying to play him as some type of guru in our media here, the Khamenei. But honestly, I
Well,
would love to see that. I see memory TV, nothing, occasionally. That's what gives me kind of jihadist perspective, you know. But that I just haven't seen that narrative, honestly, and maybe it's
I
a
will give
language
you
barrier.
an account. I'll put an account in the chat for you.
Okay,
Okay. This is made by Iranians, and it takes all the statements from the Islamic Republic and puts English subtitles under it.
cool. I just that's for me personally because I think this is a great point. I think people are skeptical. There's a whole fear of America meddling, and they're saying, "Oh, this is just America meddling again." The whole leftist thing comes back in. Oh yeah, no, they're just doing their colonizer. They're destroying. They want oil. Nobody knows anything about Iran. This is a blackout country. There's no media coming out of Iran, and if there is, you're dead.
No, there is. No, Hassan, you're wrong. There's a lot of information coming from Iran. It's the leftists is just not listening. It's not black. It's not that black. The Iranian people are getting a lot of information out, even with the internet. I'm hearing a lot of backgrounds. When I'm speaking, please close your mics. Um, there is a lot of evidence. There's a lot of information coming out of Iran. There's more than enough. We have plenty of evidence. It's not a black box. It's not a black box. We have less information coming out of Gaza. We have 100 times more information coming out of Iran regarding crimes than coming out of Gaza. These people were convinced that a genocide is happening in Gaza with a fraction of the evidence that is coming out of Iran. With a fraction of the evidence. So no, we are getting plenty of information. It's not a black box. The Iranian people have died just to make sure people have risked their lives, and people have died to just make sure that they get some information out, and the information is coming out, and we have plenty of evidence. Plenty of just keep following the accounts that we tell you in the show to see that the information is coming out. There's videos, there's audio, there's plenty of evidence. The regime is not even hiding it. So no, it's not a black box. There's a lot of information.
No, not that. I mean, honestly, I watch YouTube. I see a lot of stuff. I watch videos. I see people complain. I saw the
No, it's not
Zanjan Diaz.
complaining. Crimes are being recorded more than any. Like I think this is the most recorded massacre in history, actually. So the reason why people like Anna Kasparian will tell you that, oh my God, there's no information, is because this revolution doesn't fit their narrative. That's why they cannot come. It's too vile and disgusting to deny it. People will call them out. So instead of saying that, they say like, "Oh, they cut the internet, so we don't know," because this revolution
That's what
doesn't
I'm
fit their
getting.
narrative.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm getting. Because I, I'm not getting this well documented thing. That's it's my algorithm, and maybe they're playing our algorithms against each other, but I'm not getting it in my algorithm. So I'm not like I would love to know that it was so well documented. I
it is.
literally have that thing where they're saying, oh, they cut out all the Starlinks. There was but Elon, they cut out the Starlink. They brought in the Chinese thing. This may be the most advanced thing in humanity. There's Chinese interest, Russian interest, and Western interest. So let's not doubt the fact that maybe they're using the algorithm thing because I need to enlighten myself on this thing. We're dealing with
Well,
maybe the most powerful to suppress this country.
I appreciate you. I appreciate us and that you are questioning what they're feeding you. So I really appreciate that you're open-minded to consider whether or not the information that you have is correct or not. So that's really good. Yeah, you should be proud of.
I know they use
Uh,
algorithms they use algorithms to sway election, to radicalize people, to show people things, to manufacture what they want to manufacture. It's very
but
advanced.
when you say they, who are you referring to exactly?
Didn't Facebook get caught swaying
So
elections a certain way? The CIA and intelligence
it's not
corporation.
like that. But so let me tell you, it's not like that. It's not like the Facebook and Google. Their agenda is just their share prices. Okay, they don't have that. The reason why
I'm talking
the
about like
algorithm it might
intelligence groups and global intelligence groups.
no. No, no, no,
They
no.
have
It's mostly based on if you've already been leaning towards certain content, then the algorithm thinks that that's what you want, and it just is going to double down on sharing the same type of content with you. As soon as you switch your content diet, it immediately will shift you to the other side. You will notice, just if you just go, like, it's not, there's no conspiracy behind the algorithm. For example, go and just like a few comments on Facebook, for example, or a post on Facebook that has gives you a different narrative. You will see that within a week your feed is going to look completely the same. So it's based on what you're consuming and what you're liking. Okay. But anyways,
Armin, so
we're
it's
going.
Jeffrey,
Sorry, Austin.
Danny, Hassan, and then Marco.
Okay, so Austin had a final point, but go on.
I'm liking all different kind of stuff, but my understanding is that big tech, there's some story coming out, I'll try to find it, that big tech was influencing elections, and that this is some type of technology that's I don't think it's a conspiracy, I think it's just technology. The point is that they have technology, they have internet, and mass opinion in certain ways. That's all. And I'm going to try to find this. It was a big point that Facebook helped to push the elections in certain ways.
Can you
So
post
I
it
don't
in
know.
the link message? Can you post it on the chat if you find
Sure.
it?
Can we post it
Yeah.
and let's move on?
Yeah, just last point, and Austin, like, so let's move on. But I just last point, guys. Like, my feed is based on what I'm consuming. Everything is based up. The information that I'm getting along my feed is the proper information. So it only is based on what you're consuming. All right, so let's move on. Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's sorry about my camera. I'll turn it on in a second. So, well, I'm gonna ask that. I'm gonna deal with the point that was brought up, and then I'm gonna ask a question. So, is it true that actors use things like AI to facilitate or engage in strategic information influence operations? Yeah, a lot of actors do that, from marketers to hostile state actors, intelligence agencies of every stripe from every country. That doesn't mean that all actors engaging in such activities are morally equivalent to one another. There's no comparison between, say, Elon Musk leveraging his unique position to provide brave Iranian protesters and or resistance the ability to send out information of them being genocided by the Mullah regime that illegally occupies Iran since 79, and the Mullah regime using AI or leveraging technology that they're provided via the Chinese Communist Party or Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state to suppress said documentation or the dispersal of said documentation and or undermine national will regarding supporting those brave Iranian protesters. So I mean, that's neither. I mean, those aren't the same thing. As far as I have a question though, because I guess you're new to this, and I mean, I just kind of looked you up. You're from Los Angeles, yes? And you're actually, there's open intelligence that says that you were arrested for BLM protests and that you're on a couple of groups regarding Antifa Watch. Are you a part of Antifa?
I was arrested and I did go to the BLM protests. Back in 2020, I was there, and at the time, I thought BLM was good, and I thought it was justified. I was on the streets, and I got arrested along
Same.
with.
Well, not arrested, but, like, same with, like, I was very pro BLM and went to a lot of those protests. I never got arrested, though.
I was
So
arrested with like a mass arrest. The cops like unjustifiably arrested us at 10 minutes before the curfew, and then they let us out in a few hours. It was like a demonstration. And yeah, I my political education, the first one was leftist, and I think I've matured and changed from there. But they put
I
that out
wasn't.
there, yeah. That I
I'm
did see
not
that
trying to
for myself.
attack you, brother. Here's why I asked,
No
because
worries.
so there's a lot of identified organizational and operational ties via link analysis surrounding radical leftist elements within the West and the substate transnational proxies of adversaries like the Mullah regime. And they're very much getting activated to engage in what sometimes is called the battle of the narratives. We've had some people jump into this group, at least in the time that I've been here, that are either trolls or
I'm just
appreciate the
really
transparency.
sold. Yeah, I'm just really sold on the point of we're dealing with Iran, which has Russian influence, Chinese influence, its own influence, Islamic influence, Western influence. So the whole globe is kind of has eyes on here. So we're dealing with probably the best psyop war potential thing. And I can't differentiate one intelligence group from the other as being more ethical or not. I have a problem, I think, with power in general. I question any power on any side of the scale.
Power is not a bad thing. Power protects, right? So big countries with being powerful and having a country with a good intelligence, having Mossad and CIA, you shouldn't look at them as a threat. They save lives. You should want your country to have good
Sure.
intelligence operations.
Of course, but I hear these conspiracies and I've been influenced by conspiracies in the past. So it's logical that they may not have the best interests for the world. Now, I'm comparing who's maybe more ethical or more aligned with me and not. But I just really respect that's me. I even think sometimes, because I
So
think myself,
make your last point because I want other people to speak as well. Let's go back to Jeffrey and then move to other people. And then you could raise your hand and we could circle back to you after that. Okay?
Yeah, I'm done. I really appreciate it.
Sorry, Austin. I'm not trying to be.
Okay.
The only reason why
okay.
I'm doing this is because I want to make sure other people speak as well. So I hope you don't feel disrespected. Jeffrey,
No,
you
no.
wanted to continue your
Thank
point?
Yeah, so I appreciate the transparency. I'm going to revisit the point though that you brought up, which I'm not given the geopolitical and geostrategic environment and subsequent significance of the events going on in the Mullah regime, not the least of which is you're seeing organization operational ties between the elements that comprise what I call the autocratic bloc, which is Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, Chinese Communist Party that's illegally occupied mainland China since 49, the Mullah regime that's illegally occupied Iran since 1979, the North Korean regime, all their substrate transnational actors, and the rest of it. So that's the bloc, and you have the United States-led Western alliance. That's true. So those things are very much, all those actors are very much in play. That does not mean that there's a moral equivalency between, say, the Mullah regime that is illegally occupied Iran since 79 and anti-Mullah elements that are assisting the brave Iranian protesters that are fighting back against said Mullah regime. I mean, like, there's no moral equivalency between those two, right? I mean, Armin's kind of like, I'm going to bounce on what Armin said. It's kind of like this saying that there's a moral equivalency between the Mullah regime that's illegally occupied Iran and has a unique history of friggin' brutality to include like mass use of sexual assault and rape and murder to facilitate their oppression is somehow the same as, say, I don't know, the Mossad or the CIA or Western intelligence or NGOs that are trying to assist, or Elon Musk assisting Iranian protesters in trying to throw off that shackle is so unbelievably insulting and or disingenuous to the struggle of people who are tired of being brutalized. What that argument is akin to this: let's say you have two people, you have a cop and a rapist, right? And you have a victim. The victim is the Iranian people. The cop is the United States-led Western Alliance. Rapist is the Mullah regime. And the cop and the rapist are actually twins, and they're even using the same weapon, right? That does not mean there's a moral equivalency between the cop and the rapist, even though they're twins and they're using the same pistol. Power is not evil in and of itself. It's how you apply it. And if you're going to, how do you measure that? Well, if you're taking a maximum consequentialist approach, Reid, how do you do the most good for the most people? And you're using indexes like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can actually quantitatively define that.
I saw a concerning tweet by Neil Berg today that 30,000 people were in Tehran's Behesht Zera cemetery. 30,000 people have been murdered and then buried in the cemetery. Not just were at the cemetery. Now, I don't know whether this is true, but I'm anxious about whether the death toll could be hundreds of thousands and not tens of thousands. And I'm also confused about what proportion of the violence is specifically from January 8th and 9th when the shock called for action, because I understand that the violence right now is horrible, but I don't understand if it's escalated since January 8th, 9th, or if it was equally horrible then and we're just finding out about it now. So this is a question towards people who are in contact with people around right now.
So, based on what I'm hearing, that the number of people that Islamic Republic has massacred is way higher than the numbers people suggest. The 20, 30,000 numbers, people in Iran are saying that that's a joke. A lot of people are saying that the floor is 50,000. Again, all of this has to be evaluated and we have to wait. But I've heard some numbers that I'm not going to repeat in case they're wrong. But it seems like it's much higher than the numbers that are being reported right now in Western media. So we have to wait and see what the actual numbers are. It seems that a lot of people who have been arrested, because they don't have room for them, and they also don't want to have executions for them because Trump is sensitive about that right now. They're just shooting them and mixing their bodies with the people who died during the first day of the protests. So they're just shooting the prisoners and then mixing their bodies with the dead people and making it seem like they died in the streets in the revolution, right? There's also a lot of by the way, now that I'm mentioning this, I also have to remind people that a lot of the body bags that they're moving around, there's people's voices coming out of them. So when they're picking up the bodies and putting them in the body bags, they don't like they're mixing the dead people with the injured people, and they're just treating them all like that. Like a lot of people that are like in the trucks and everything, when they're seeing the piles of dead, supposedly dead bodies, everybody, there's so many people that are reporting there's people's voices are coming from the piles of dead bodies. Like people are basically slowly dying in the bodies that are supposed to be dead. So they don't care. Like, and also like a lot of the people who were supposed to have died in the streets, they have hospital clothing on, they have those tubes on their hand and hospital tags around their wrist or stuff like that, which shows that the regime is going into the hospitals where have been injured. This is why a lot of people are not, when they get injured, they don't go to the hospital, because the regime is just going from, sometimes in some hospitals they're going from bed to bed and shooting people. And a lot of people who have hospital clothing on and were basically, their bodies were delivered as if they died in the streets, they had the shots right into their head, which shows that they just went to the bed and they shot people in their heads in some cases. Also, one thing I mentioned in the show is important that I mention here as well. A lot of the people who have been killed, the regime is not delivering the body to the family unless they pay for the bullets. And apparently, they're asking for a lot of money. So imagine basically paying the regime for the bullets that they use to kill your daughter, for example, right? And if you can't afford it, a lot of times they get you to come. You have to test if you want the body of your loved ones. You have to actually testify that your child or your father or your brother was part of the besiege and was killed by Zionists. So imagine the regime is trying to use the imagine, for example, being a mother and wanting the body of your son, and the regime is making you come and make the claim that your son was with us and the Zionists killed your son. So you have to imagine the mother having to come and make a claim that, oh, my son was actually part of the people who actually, were the people who killed your son. So a lot of families are refusing that. So if you don't pay and if you don't give a testimony like that, a lot of people are just being buried in mass graves when their bodies are not being delivered to the family. And some families are having just ceremonial funerals, like having like symbolic burials for their loved ones, because they don't actually have the body, and the government is not giving the regime is not giving them the body. So they're just having symbolic funerals as if they buried the body. So that's happening as well.
Put it in the chat.
Danny, is it okay if I make you a mod?
Sure. But I passed off the list to BT, so she will be the mod for the rest of this.
Yeah, I know.
Bad cop is
know,
back, baby.
Thank you.
So I put the
So
tweet in the chat. It's got a WhatsApp and Farsi, so I can't read that at all. And also, one more thing that I just noticed: Israeli, is his picture the wrong sun line and sun flag? Because that looks like a knifey sun.
Oh, did you post another thing?
No, just look at Rally Melancon's profile picture in the call.
Oh, Rally. Oh, let me see.
Not even
Where
about
is
whether
it?
you changed it. I'm just curious.
That seems like an AI generated lion and sun. So it doesn't look like the ones that. that I usually see.
Okay. Because I think
I'm
the
not sure.
sun is the MEK sun, but
Yeah.
I do kind of see
Yeah,
black.
it is a bit close to the MEK line and sun, so I think you want to change that.
Alright.
Just use this one. This is the safe one. Just look at this one. Okay. So, by the way, guys, Newberg is doing a great job. It is important to pay attention to her post. However, I'm pretty sure she would agree that the only way for you to be 100%, like not 100%, like sure that something is real is that if it's been verified by somewhere like, I don't know, Manoto or Iran International. I mean, even then, it's not 100% guaranteed, right? But I'm not saying to dismiss these posts, but just be careful we have to, for us to become more sure that it's true, we have to wait for those outlets to be able to verify some of this information, right? So do you want me to read the post, like the Persian part of the post, or is that your question?
Yes,
So
please.
Neilberg posted saying 38,000 have been murdered and then buried in Tehran's Behesh Zahra cemetery. These are the numbers for only one location. Tehran has many cemeteries. This is a genocide event. Stop saying 12 to 20,000. This goes so far beyond anything they've reported. So here's the thing. What she says is, for me, is believable. Okay. I'm just going to wait before I confirm that this is the real data. Okay. I'm not, but I'm saying that I would not be surprised if this is correct, right? So the Persian post that she has posted, somebody on WhatsApp, I think, it's saying تهران نیستم ولی چند روز دیگه میرم. خب ببین ناو رسید، حواست باشه کشته ها حدود 55,000 نفره. از امروز احتمالا جنگ از کجا میدونی این عدد رو؟ 38,000 نفر جنازه ثبت شده تو بهش زهرا این چند روزه، فقط بهش زهرا. وای عکس و فیلم داریم. So the guy is basically, they were talking about the USSR Abraham Lincoln coming. So they were talking about that news, and he says that he thinks that 55,000 people have died. And the guy is asking, how do you know? He says, just in Behesh Zahra ceremony, there were at least 38,000 bodies. So that's what they're saying in that WhatsApp message. By the way, remember, this is an assessment of one person who is like not a journalist based on what they're saying on the ground. So they might be correct, they might be wrong. We have to be skeptical, right? I honestly think the numbers are even higher than what they're saying in that post, like if I had to guess. But we have to be skeptical.
I lean more on your side, actually, that there's more truth in these numbers, because my logic goes from the behavior of the regime that I see, it's worse. It's just, I lean on the worst side, not the reasonable side.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, who's next? And guys, close your mics if you're not speaking, because
Hassan, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me all right?
yes.
Okay, Armin, I would first like to express again my unwavering support for the Iranian people who are in the process of toppling this brutal regime that currently rules Iran, unfortunately. The details that you've described, if people really investigate and look into it, I don't know how any human can have any doubts about the fact that this regime needs to go, especially the details that you're describing. I mean, it would just shake any human. The question that I have for you might come across as a little bit cross for the moment that we're in, but I just want to ask you. You said earlier that there are reports of mercenaries joining in the IRGC forces to combat Iranian protesters. And you also mentioned somewhere that Pakistanis were involved. I just want to ask you, do you have any verifiable or any sort of evidence that would point in that direction? Because here's what I would say. I'm now really asking it so that I can show people here that there are people going from Pakistan to aid the brutal Iranian regime. And if you have any evidence to that effect, I would really love if you can share if and whenever it is convenient for you. Thank you.
The information that I got was reported from Iran International. I'm not saying that anything Iran International says is 100% correct, but at these moments is one of the more reliable sources. They usually do a lot of fact
Of
checking
course.
before they report something like that. So that's where I saw it. They basically said they identified 3 militia groups the Islamic Republic has been using: Hashd Shabi, Fatimiyun and Zainabiyun. So for people who know the Islamic Republic proxy groups, these are Shia proxy groups in different countries. So Pakistan is mostly Sunnis, but the Zainabiyun in Pakistan is Shia, and the Islamic Republic funds them, trains them, and uses them. So Fatimiyun is from Afghanistan, Zainabiyun is from Pakistan, Hashd Shabi, otherwise known in English as the Popular Mobilization Front, is from Iraq. And these are the three groups that the regime used to bring inside Iran to kill the Iranian people. This has been verified by so many people. Even the prince has referred to
Okay.
it, right? So, yeah.
So here's what I will say. I'm 100% sure that you're right. In fact, I would be a bit surprised if there were no involvement from Pakistani Shias. I would actually be surprised. I'm really only asking this from you so that I can show the small circle of people that I have here that I talk with every day about these matters, and we discuss things about what is happening, especially in Iran. I can show them and I can point to them that this is what some of our people are aiding, and they would be horrified to see that, by the way. You don't have to share the evidence with me now that you've told me that you've seen it through Iran International. I'll go look it up. But unfortunately, yes, there are people here amongst the Shias who can be expected to do that sort of thing. Also, Armin, there's something I would like to say here. I would like to single out this trait of yours, which is for appreciation, basically, where you go out and you talk to people who might not be on the exact same page as you are, and you handle their questions quite gracefully. The little time that I've observed you talking to different people and engaging with them, I have only seen you talk in a manner that changes hearts and minds. And I would really like to single that trait out because this is one of the things that if you retain, a lot of people who have any doubt about what you're saying, it will very quickly become sympathetic to the cause. Uh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you. I'll try to do that. I'll try to keep that in mind. I just wanted to say that when you said I'm sorry for our people, this is not your people. You don't have to say sorry for that. What does this got to do with you? Your people are people who have shared similar values with you, right? And these are Zainabiyun is a terrorist group that you don't belong to. So don't refer to them as our people. Just because they come from the same country that you came from doesn't mean they have anything to do with you. So you're not associated with them, and you don't have to be sorry about them. Okay, you are in our team. You're on our side, and we are your people. Okay, they are not your
Uh,
people. We are your people, and you are our people.
That really means a lot, Armin. And the least I can do is try to talk to the people who are present here and try to show them the right side of things so that they can be on the right side of history. Because what is happening currently, I promise you that it will be unfolding in Iran, will be taught in history books, and the region as a whole will move forward. Really think that the Iranian people, the cause that they have picked up, that will move the entire region forward. There will be something to look up to. I hope that.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much.
thank you, and hopefully one day we could liberate Pakistan as well
I
together.
absolutely cannot wait. Inshallah
Me too.
is what I would say. Thank you.
Before we move on, I wanted to recommend to Hassan inside of the school group that we have, there are discussion posts. If you would like to post something in there,
Right.
just letting the other members know that you're looking for information to share with other people within your area, something like that. You can start a
Yeah.
discussion post up and then links and different things so it can kind of be one space for you to gather up information to share with friends. I think that would be really beneficial for what you are trying to do.
Oh, yes, that will be helpful. And I already do that. Some of the information that I've come across on the internet and even on this group, I try and regurgitate that information between the small group of people that I interact with. And yes, it will be helpful if I start interacting with this group. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, next is Marku.
Before Marcus speaks, I just want to remind people that we're recording this and we're going to put it on YouTube. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that. And also for people who are new here, there's a smiley face at the bottom with the plus button, plus icon symbol above his head. If you click on that, you could click on the raise hand button, and that's how you get added to the list to speak. All right, Marcus, go ahead. Marcus, you unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So, Armin, just a quick shout out to you. Really appreciate all the content you've been doing. I've been following you and Goldie for about 1.5 weeks now. And I'm from Finland. I don't know if you even know where that is, but
Yeah, of course.
we're very close to Russia. And I have a couple of Iranian friends, and one of them is a pretty famous comedian here. But I have to say, like, I'm so much rooting for you guys, like getting your country back. And I already told my Iranian friends that if it becomes like a safe place to go, I'll take my family to vacation there and all that stuff. But my point on the political side was basically like there's so much disinformation and all this stuff about, you had the Mujahideen and these leftists that I watched the UN assembly, and it was just disgraceful because they never even said the Shah's name there, even though even my friends, one of them was like, yeah, it's got to be the Shah. But my point is like if from all of the groups that I've seen, the Shah has been the one that's been the most, like, I don't know, it's been so, like, I want to bring democracy there. And I just don't understand why are these getting in social media, these leftists are getting so much shout. And I don't know if it's algorithms, but or is it the grand plan as from the globalist or whatever, but I mean it's been just weird to look at all this stuff. And having to tell my friends, like, there's a revolution happening in Iran. And even the friend of mine who's a comedian went on in Finnish national TV to talk about. Of course, he's talking these in Finnish, but I think you can get English subtitles. But he's been saying like, yeah, of course, there's going to be casualties, and at the end of the day, everybody wants a free Iran, and I think the whole world wants a free Iran. And even though I have to say, from a geopolitical standpoint, like Trump is playing the geopolitical like game, in my opinion, even though he's on the Iranian side. But if you think about Maduro, oil that's was going to Cuba and wherever, and then there's then Iran's, who's predominantly the oil beneficiary, is China these days. You gotta have to think about this from geopolitical side, that there's a little bit more of a high level game going up and above as well.
Okay, and first of all, for people who don't know what Marco is referring to, Masih Ali-Najad was the person that they took from as a representative of the Iranian side to the United Nations Security Council to talk about the revolution that is happening in Iran. Disgusting for a lot of Iranians to watch, because a lot of Iranians have been trying to tell Westerners that Masih Ali-Najad doesn't represent us. She has been trying to compete with Prince Reza Pahlavi because she wants to be the main person in attention rather than the prince, that the Iranian people are dying to shout out his name, so to get his name to the whole world. She's the person, for example, she has done so many disgusting things, but the most recent one is that right when the revolution started, when videos were coming out of Iran, she was cherry picking the videos that didn't have any mention of Pahlavi in them on her social media, just because she didn't want to promote Pahlavi, even though Iranian people were giving their lives to say the name Pahlavi to the whole world. She was not posting those on purpose, and she was only mostly posting the ones that says death to the dictator, death to Khamenei, because she sees Pahlavi as competition. That's the person. And again, a lot of Iranians, when they watched that, they were very disgusted to see that she went there to act like she's representing the Iranian people, but she didn't mention Princess of Pahlavi a single time, which is the main thing that the Iranian people are fighting for unanimously. That's every single chant, every single and everywhere around Iran is basically about bringing Pahlavi back, and she didn't mention him once. And that's the person that they picked to come in the Security Council to talk about Iranians, which is an embarrassment, if not a betrayal. Regarding your point regarding democracy, that's actually a very important point for people to know, because a lot of people think king means not democracy. But as Marcus said, that he noticed that Princess of Pahlavi's entire message has always been about democracy. In fact, that is bringing sovereignty back to the Iranian people has always been his message in the past 47 years. His entire books, all of his speeches, every single place that he has gone to speak is always about bringing power back to the people. He always claims that he has zero power, and all the power he has is the power that the Iranian people give him, and he's just reflecting the power of the Iranian people. When it comes to his choice, for what form of government he wants Iran to have, he says he only has one vote, and a referendum will decide whether we're going to be a constitutional monarchy or a republic. He was actually biased towards not a constitutional monarchy himself, but because so many constitutional monarchists didn't like to hear that, he stopped mentioning about his preferences, and he just talks about, we just wait for the referendum. So it's interesting because a lot of people think that he's fighting for monarchy, but his single vote, which is only one vote, was actually at some point not even for a constitutional monarchy himself. But right now he doesn't talk about that. He just focuses on Iranian people having to make the decision themselves. Why do leftists against him? You said the whole world wants a free Iran. That's actually not true. The leftists don't seem to want that. A lot of Iranian leftists, for example, are trying to make sure that the revolution is not successful. Some of them are actually openly now Iranian leftists now supporting the Islamic Republic. They used to hide that, but now they're openly supporting it, calling the protesters terrorists, right? These are people, there are some leftists in Iran who used to be part of Zan Zindagi Azadi, and now they are calling the protesters terrorists because they don't want any revolution with the brand Pahlavi to succeed, because their agenda is not a free Iran. Their agenda is not a prosperous Iran. Their agenda is to fight the imperialist West. Their agenda is to fight Zionism. That's their agenda. And if the Islamic Republic goes, and a government comes that is an ally of Israel, an ally of the United States, they, in their mind, well, the Islamic Republic is better, because with all the problems that they have with the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic has been fighting leftists, sometimes, executing on them, they think at least the Islamic Republic, at least it's anti-imperialist. At least the Islamic Republic is anti-Zionist. So if the revolution is going to be succeeding with the Pahlavi brand, they want it to not succeed at all. They don't care about the Iranian people. They don't care about freedom. They don't care about prosperity. They just wanted to destroy Israel and United States, and that's their main agenda. And everything else that they say. This is why many of the classical liberal values that in the West were successful when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to gay rights, when it comes to minority rights. These people have jumped on all of those things without that actually being their goal. These are the success of classical liberal values, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. These people have hijacked that, they turned that into their branding, and they act like they're fighting for those things, but all of that is a show. This is why we mistrust people who call themselves feminists, or like we have a lot of doubt with people who are activists for the LGBT community, because their goal is not equal rights for women or LGBT. This is all just a show, and their main goal is to just destroy Israel and United States and the Western world order as it is right now. Everything else is excuse. Human rights is an excuse. LGBT rights is an excuse. Women rights is an excuse. Those are all just a show for their actual agenda to turn down the global order as it is right now. And this is true for many leftists around the world. It's also true for leftists in Iran, right? So yeah, no, it's not. They don't want a free Iran. They want to destroy Israel and the United States. When it comes to oil, when they say that, oh, America wants to come take your oil, they talk about it as if America wants to come steal the oil. Okay, America, if they take Venezuelan oil or Iranian oil, they're going to buy the oil. They're not going to steal the oil. You know who's stealing the oil right now as we're speaking? China is stealing Iran's oil. Once Iran is free, if Iranian oil goes to the United States, it's going to go to the United States at market prices. Unlike right now, that is going to China at a discounted, very discounted price. So when America actually gets Iranian oil, which is good, we want America to get Iranian oil because that's going to strengthen our bond. They buy, we sell. That's going to strengthen our bond. Come take our oil. Just make sure you pay the fair price for it. Come take it for sure. We don't want charity. We don't want America to come and help out just because. Every country should prioritize their own national interest first. The reason we want cooperation based on mutual interest. Nobody is asking for charity. So if Americans are going to be involved and they're going to benefit from it because they're going to have more access to oil, great. Buy the oil, we sell the oil, we trade, we have stronger bonds. Why is it that coming for like people like, oh, you want the oil? Why is that a dirty word? They buy, we sell, we make the money. So yeah, come for the oil. And we should be advertising that. If Iran is free, United States is going to benefit from this because it has more access to energy now. And we're going to benefit from this because we can sell it to America at a fair price rather than the Chinese at a discounted price. So
But
did I
like
answer?
they want the US
Yeah.
to be sanctioned essentially to like bring down the US capital system. They want the US sanctioned to like bring down the US capital system. Like they don't want the US to even buy oil at market price. They want the US to like struggle to have to like get oil and be like pushed to the point of like economic collapse to the point where they have to end capitalism and capitulate with ending capitalism.
You're talking about the commies. That's what they want.
Yes.
Yeah, just want
Yeah,
to
okay.
point out there that I wasn't saying anything of what the fair price is, but I'm just saying like if like I don't know, like 60%
I
of
wasn't,
the
but
Chinese
I
oil is
wasn't, I
coming from
wasn't.
Iran, it's like,
Mhm.
well, there has to be some discounts of course, if you're buying that kind of lot. But I'm just saying like that you guys, the Iranian people, have had no say in the negotiations. It's been done by the Khomeini and their
RGC.
establishment. Yeah.
Sold on the black
Sorry, make
market
that
right
point
now.
again.
It's deeply discounted.
Yeah, it is. It's deeply discounted. Mark, what were you saying? I wasn't negating anything you're saying. I was just using your points to add to it. But what were you saying regarding the discount, Marco? I didn't catch that point.
Yeah, no, like every country, negotiates bilaterally
Yep.
usually. So
Yes.
they might get some kind of discounts.
The discounts I'm talking about is insane. I'm not talking about the normal discounts that you would get because of high volume. Okay. Those are natural discounts. The discounts that China is getting from the Islamic Republic for their oil, that is basically like they're like stealing. Like it's insane.
Yeah,
It's
because
insane.
of the sanctions.
Yeah. Well, because they use the oil to fund terrorism. The sanctions
Exactly.
make sense. The oil and gas money from the Islamic Republic goes to funding Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hashd Shabi, Kataib Hezbollah, Zainabiyun, right? So they have to sanction it. The Iranian people wanted the United States to sanction the oil because it's not being used to fund the Iranian people. It's being used to fund IRGC and its proxies.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
great part of it. I mean, getting Iran back into the normal market, is the great
Yeah.
thing that nobody's like advertising, and I find that very disconcerting. I'm just trying to add to your point, Armin. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that you're discrediting
No, I get it.
discrediting anything from my end, but just saying like, and I just wanted to shout out to Austin. Just make a new YouTube account and do things on a different manner. Just go search for the right wing stuff, and you get the right information. Just saying that it's the algorithm as well. So if you're just using your own
I don't
historic
think
account,
so.
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
talk about
I
that.
think I'm all over the algorithm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Let's
anyway.
move on. Let's
Yeah.
move on to the next person.
Okay, next we have Francesco, and then Austin and DDOM. You two are up next after that. So be ready.
Don't forget to mute your mic if you're not speaking.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about media manipulation by the point that Austin brought. And this is the way I see it. Of course, I can be wrong. I'm just a guy on the internet, so it's not. But what I see that in free society, generally the truth comes out. And it's true that the USA government manipulated the media, and Mark Zuckerberg talked it openly in the biggest podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. So yeah, and generally the way it is done is by inducing biases, though it's not just censoring people because just that doesn't work well. And you don't generally do it directly, so you don't intervene directly with the Google or Facebook, but you use other companies. For example, I don't know, Disney that wants to censor comments on Snow White and uses copyrights to do so. But right now, the media is the freest that it's ever been after Elon bought X. And so the threshold for information has kind of changed. So there is a lot of less censorship around. The thing that we should worry about is the media that comes from abroad. For example, TikTok, they promote everything that's insane. And there are foreign governments that have programs, like the Chinese government has the Wu Mao army to basically change the opinions. And there are literally bot farms. So there are like rooms full of phones, and those are used to basically push a narrative. And we need to be careful, because you cannot do the same in China. So they are using the platforms to basically promote anything that, like, who should care about a bridge built in China, right? Why does it pop in the feed? That gets promoted by bot farms because the Chinese government wants to show an image of progress within China while everything is basically rotting within. And then there are medias that are considered legitimate, like Al Jazeera, the BBC, that takes clips. And I mean, Trump had sued the BBC, right? Because they cut what he said during the January 6th speech in a way that didn't convey the truth. And this thing get amplified by all the other medias. Then, of course, you can invite idiots to talk. And there are platforms like Piers Morgan, for example, that doesn't fail to invite idiots on to talk. And that gets amplified. The best way to lie is with facts, saying the truth by framing. So, for example, you just put, I don't know, very strong images on the news, and that somehow causes an emotional response. You can do what is done now for Iran. You just move on in talking about Greenland. To be honest, the events of Iran are way more important than what happens on that block of ice. Yeah, I mean, there are NATO concerns, but I don't think, that it is done on purpose. You can connect something that's not connected and disconnect what is not connected. And sometimes you just focus on one thing for a lot of time and you get the wrong idea to people. Let's say Gaza, it was, all over the media for, basically years. So that convinces people that, of course, a genocide is happening. And then another thing that is done is for the opposite reason. You want basically to normalize crime, to never connect the dots. For example, you always see, I don't know, people kidnapped or shot, but you never tell who does it. It's just a report in the news, and that somehow normalizes violence. So that's everything I wanted to say.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay, Armin, next we have Austin and then D-Dom.
I'll try to be quick. I didn't know we had about 20 people, 20 plus people. I thought it was just us six looking at this mobile. So I didn't know we had like 20 people in here. I apologize. I'm doing my best here. I just have a blatant mistrust of any large institutions, and I'm being fed all type of rhetoric, leftist and maybe even Russian and I'm doing my best to seek through the truth. I wrote down, like, I can't still quite shake the conspiratorial evidence, and I really don't. I mean, I have used this platform and Armin's platform, watching the videos, to try to educate. Sometimes it seems you're just getting repetitive and caught in a hole. And maybe that's the case with me too, because what you're saying, I literally do not see. I don't think I'm on right wing things. I think something more subtle. And so many thoughts are popping up for me on just this whole discussion.
But you can search the information, right? You want to look for. Like, you can search, right? If you can make your own mind, if you just look for information, it doesn't have to pop up in your media.
It's good. It's
whether
good to
they're
be.
erroneous
It's good to.
or
So, Austin, it's good to be skeptical, but like you don't have to end there. You could then go do some research and verify. You know what I mean? So I
I'm doing my
encourage you to
best.
be skeptical. Yeah, no, that's good. It seems like you're trying, right? So I think the first step is to be skeptical and not just trust the information that you're receiving. That's good, but that it doesn't have to end there. Then you could actually go and try to find sources and verify the information. And the next step is to go and see which one is correct. So you don't have to just sit and consume and just be like, oh, I cannot trust this. You could actually then become active
I
in
feel
the
that I have to
verification.
literally travel the whole country and document things live in the face. I feel just the whole digital platform already skews me, and then any powerful,
So
I just have skepticism
no. So
everywhere.
here I know a lot of people.
And I
Here's what
like
you could
Friendship's
just
point that I'm being too overly skeptical, never coming to a conclusion. But my
right.
conclusion is I just want more knowledge and information and experience and more reliable sources. I don't trust governments.
So
I trust regular people. And the fact that we have to communicate through these large I don't trust my government, I don't trust their government. And it
okay, we're
is
getting.
kind of moral equivalency in some respect.
But I think the more you come to our discussions, like you could see how we could, what are the ways for us to realize which sources are more reputable. So sources, like there are ways, there are sources that are trusted. So usually based on people's past performance and how good their information was before, there are some sources that are more reliable than other based on what we've seen from the past. So that's one thing that we use. There are some sources that are more credible, that are more trustworthy, and that's not just based on bias.
I don't want people to be
No,
unjustly hurt and killed.
I'm
Old
okay. We're
methodology
jumping
is
from
just
what
unsatisfying.
okay. Let me just say something else, and then I'm going to move on to the next because we were talking about how to do research, and now we're talking about wanting a better world. Obviously, we want a better world.
I don't want to be seen that I am skeptical toward the positive things.
It's okay to be skeptical. I'm not saying not be skeptical. I'm just saying being skeptical is not enough. Being skeptical is the first step. The second step is learning how to address that skepticism and find more better information and how to verify that the information that you have is correct. That's the next step. So
I
being skeptical is okay, but that's the first step. Okay. And another thing I want to talk about we're talking about left and right. I mean, I use it all the time because everyone else uses, but I don't think that's a very helpful categorization. This is what I usually, guys, mute your mic because I'm getting a lot of feedback. I think, guys, there's three different ways that people divide. So, guys, left and right is not very helpful. Progressive and conservative is not very helpful either because left and right doesn't make it much sense to me. But because when we're talking about left, usually we're talking about more liberty when it comes to social stuff, but less liberty when it comes to economic stuff. And when we're talking about right, we're talking about usually more liberty when it comes to economic stuff and less liberty when it comes to social stuff. I know this is a very simplified version of it, but it doesn't make any sense. I want liberty across the board. So both on social stuff and economic stuff. So that's why right and left doesn't make sense to me when it comes to categorization. When it comes to progressive and conservative, that doesn't make any sense to me either, because whether we want to progress, we want to change something, or we want to conserve something depends on what we're talking about. There are certain things that are working well. We shouldn't be changing them because it's just working very well. So we need to conserve it. And there are certain things that can improve, and we have figured out a better way to do it. So we need to progress and find a new way to do it. So progressive and conservative, you can be progressive and conservative across the board. You have to figure out what the hell we're talking about before we decide we want to have a conservative or progressive view on it. What makes sense to me is liberal and illiberal, right? So if you're from the left and you have classical liberal views, you're with me. If you're from the left and you are woke and we have communist views against Samantha, so a lot of the left who is like that is in line with classical liberal values, I consider that to be liberal left. Again, right leaning, there are many right leaning people that are in line with classical liberal values. I consider them as our allies. A lot of people from the woke right, like the Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson's of the world, they are illiberal. The fascists, the Nazis, the racists, the misogynist part of the right, they are illiberal. So left liberal, right liberal, they're aligned with us. Left illiberal, right illiberal, they're not aligned with us, right? So liberal and illiberal is the more productive way, I think, to categorize things. All
Okay,
right.
next we have D-Dom, followed by Mr. Jeffrey.
Right, good evening. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just home and everyone is sleeping. So I wanted to say thank you, Armin, for calling Tucker Carlson a fascist. He's a fucking fascist. People have to know this and be more loud about it. The other thing is point on the informational and the psychological warfare, and the bad guys in our history have invested so much effort in their propaganda that they want to make you feel that you are the minority, although we are not. The people that are not far left or far right, sorry for the usage of the left and right categories. I know this is not what I would want to use, but that's how we used to it. So just make a point that the people that in the right side of history are more than those who are in the wrong side. But those who are on the wrong side are too vocal, too loud, and it just makes you feel like you are the minority, although you are not. And just a small hint, not a hint, but I would love more people to think about it that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but you can fix me on that matter. And another thing is on the matter you told about people who got killed in Iran while the demonstrations, and then the IRGC tries to make people pay for get their loved ones. Maybe it shouldn't be send them a message not to cooperate because that's not what their loved ones would want, something like this.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the families are not cooperating, but a lot of families, it's hard to tell them that because they really, I mean, I'm an atheist, so I can't relate with that, but a lot of people feel like they associate with the body with their loved ones, right? So if they don't get them back, it feels like they have completely lost them. I think a lot of Jews actually relate with that. That's why Jews are really, really insistent on getting the bodies back. I think a lot of people, some family members are like, yeah, fuck you. I'm not going to pay you. You killed my brother. I'm going to pay you for killing my brother. But some family members are like, they just cannot deal with that. They cannot deal with that. They're like, we want our loved one back. I shared the video. Like the father he was looking for his son, Seper, like he was calling out for his son. When he was looking for the body of his son, he was saying, Seper, where are you? My son, where are you? So he's associating the body of his son with his son. So it's really hard to say to a father like that, oh yeah, just forget the body, go home without the body. So it's more emotional. So it's really hard. Like I don't think we could tell them that. But yeah, I see your point though. I do see your point.
Yeah, I don't think I could live with myself if when my parents died, I didn't make sure their bodies got buried. I could not live with myself if I didn't make sure their bodies were buried when they die.
They are
Mr.
too
Jeffrey,
big.
then Rayleigh, Jewish Samantha, and Marku. I mentioned in the chat that moving forward, since we only have about 30 minutes left and we need to make sure that Armin goes to eat, I'm not guaranteeing anyone who raises their hand after this. We'll see.
Thank you, BT. And Danny, we weren't criticizing you, okay? We were just adding information. We were not negating what you said. All right. Who's next?
I think she said me. I can
Okay,
go.
go ahead.
So I'm going to touch on a couple of things that were brought up with regards to moral differentiation regarding the application of power. Power itself is morally neutral. The moral content resides in how the power is applied towards what ends and with what consequences. So in authoritarian regimes like Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, or the Mullah regime, the application of power causes structural harm. Right? It deliberately suppresses the physiological and safety needs of its people. It uses coercion as a governing principle, not as an emergency measure. It criminalizes dissent, belief, association, and identity, regardless of their impact on, say, public safety. It treats populations as an instrument of regime survival and externalizes failure through repression and violence. Conversely, Western power, although not perfect, is constrained and correctable. Lower tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs are protected as a default condition. Force is applied episodically, often externally. Power is constrained by law, institutions, and public accountability. And dissent, reform, and correction are permitted and institutionalized. And so when you think about things like that, framework helps to kind of like filter out wheat from chaff when you think about why the left amplifies Mullah regime's propaganda and very much focuses on, easily debunked arguments of moral relevancy. The contemporary Red Green Alliance kind of mirrors in many ways the similar reasons I underwrote the marriage of convenience of the Red Black Alliance that took down the Shah. And while they hate each other, they possessed a superficial marriage of convenience centered around hostility towards the left, right? So, yeah, they don't like each other. That doesn't mean they don't hate us more than they dislike each other. And as far as like the moral equivalency or some of the nonsense that you see pushed by radical leftists that are amplifying the Mullah regime, I'm going to use a historical example again. If you think about like why it is radical leftists, this Armin talked about, like differentiating between, say, people who subscribe to classical liberalism in the United States, that would be a libertarian, and radical left-wing Marxist elements that tragically populated disproportionately increasing amount on the left. If you think about like why it is radical leftists hijacked the civil rights movement from the mid and late 1960s during the Soviet era of the Cold War, the civil rights movement in and of itself, very much noble and needed. The warped, transformed, and weaponized versions of them are not. And it comes at the cost of actually helping the very people the left claims to care about, which they don't, right? For instance, if you think about comparing the economic issue of oil, right? Well, everybody's got interest in Iran, and so that means there's no moral differentiation between Western interests and Chinese Communist Party. Nothing could be further from the truth. There is a huge difference. If you're using like a maximum consequentialist approach to determining who does the most good and using Maslow's hierarchy of needs as your indexes to measure how you do the most good, economic interdependence, as is defined as free trade between Iran and the West, that is envisioned via His Highness Reza Pahlavi's Iran Prosperity Project, is far night and day better than the lack of benefits that Iranians get under the pseudo-theological cronyist system that currently exists and is defined by the relationship between the mullahs and the chaikhans. There's no connection. It's the same when you think about like propaganda against the Shah, right, during the Soviet era of the Cold War. There is no similarity whatsoever in the unbelievable quality of life that Iranians generally experienced under His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi's father's time as the Shah and the horrific nonsense that came after it, by any measure you care to name. I mean, I can go on. I want to give other people some time to talk. I just figure I'd like help tighten the shock group maybe on some of those things.
Thank you. That was on point.
Thank you. Okay, next is Rayleigh and then Samantha.
Yes, I'm in the field of cybersecurity, and I've been hyper focused on recently on this. The last week we had an outage with Verizon, and it knocked out a significant number of people, including myself, in our phone coverage. And then I think it was yesterday that Microsoft's Office Suite had an outage. And I haven't been monitoring the hacker forums yet, but I need to go on there. I have been working and I've been preparing. I live in Austin, so I've been preparing for a storm that's supposed to be hitting us soon. So I haven't had a chance to go on there, but I'm wondering if, these outages are related to some sort of attack from Iran, or maybe it's proxies in North Korea or China or Russia, if there's any connection between the two. Y'all don't think so?
US is having snowstorms. I don't think there's any connection.
The timing just seems very strange to me.
The US has snowstorms, there's blackouts all the time. This is not a bizarre thing. It's winter.
not the winter storm, the Verizon outage that happened not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, and then the Microsoft outage.
Things glitch.
Okay.
I don't know the answer for sure, but that's actually not out of the left field. There have been historical data attacks. I think North Korea brought down the Sony PlayStation network as a protest to the film with the mock assassination. So rogue states do use hack attacks like this to send messages to their enemies. So it wouldn't be unheard of.
Yeah, I know. I remember that before. It may not be directly from Iran. It could be from one of their proxy states. But I don't know. It may sound far fetched. I don't know.
As a general rule, weak states use asymmetrical warfare. You know, when they can't match their opponents in terms of military strength or diplomatic strength, they can resort to things like this, maybe to achieve some political end.
Oh well, that's all I had to ask. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Samantha, you're next.
The people of Iran are fucking brave, man. Like, they're really fucking brave. And I feel so fucking shitty that, like, they're so fucking brave. Half the time, I'm scared to even fucking talk. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
I
Well,
take offense
Samantha,
to apologize that up to
yeah.
like 2 weeks ago, I thought, or up to December 28th, I thought that Iranian people were too scared to do what needs to be done. And I was very, very wrong.
Well, I mean, let me respond to both of those. First of all, Samantha, I personally will never forget you standing by our side. Okay, so you represent a lot of people that I really, really admire. So we will never forget that. We will never forget that. And thank you for everything you say and everything you do in supporting us. To Danny's point, Danny, thank you so much for changing your mind on that, because when the Iranian people were not coming out into the streets, we were having a lot of difficulty trying to explain to people that it is going to happen. The Iranian people were just waiting for the right time. And I think they chose the time wisely. They have a record of showing up when they're needed, and they have sacrificed so much before. They sacrificed so much in the Bloody November. A lot of people don't know about Bloody November. There was a mass slaughter as well, but the Islamic Republic did a really good job hiding that in a way that the world is not talking about it, that the world forgot about it. So at least we predicted that this will happen, because we knew that the Iranian people are not going to be tolerating this much oppression. And we know that the price would be high. And we know that the Iranian people would be willing to pay it. And it happened. That's why they call Iran the land of the brave. And now we tell you, like, a lot of people, now that there's a lot of people think that, okay, they went back and they're not going to come out based on the experience that they had. It's over. And just like we said before, they are going to come out in numbers that you're not going to believe. And it happened. So this time, like, I hope people believe me that no, the revolution is not over and the Iranian people are not
I
done.
believe you, but most Americans don't.
Yeah. So no, the revolution is not over, and it doesn't take. It's going to take a lot more than, even though this slaughter that we just saw is the darkest part of Iran's history. It's not going to be enough to keep Iranian people in their home. In fact, if anything, it has reduced the doubt among the remaining. So if there were any other people in Iran that didn't want to fight the Islamic Republic, now they actually came on the side of joining the fight as well. So I think it will backfire, and I think they will show up even stronger than before. So
It
this is not going to
convinced
stop.
me that the CCP is evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. Do you want to explain why to people who might not do the connection?
Just literally seeing them helping the Islamic Republic is like I anyone helping the Islamic Republic is evil. That is why.
The CCP did this to their own people in Tiananmen Square, so they see eye to
Like,
eye.
did they really? Like, I mean, I know
Yep.
obviously Tiananmen Square happened, like that.
Yes.
It was a slaughter.
Yep.
Oh
Tens of
shit.
thousands.
Wait, really?
They
Yeah.
brought tanks. Like they actually shot with tanks ammunition into crowds.
Yeah, that's why they see a strong correlation. Once the revolution started happening, sorry to jump in here, a lot of Chinese were looking at this as a situation that they may have an advantage of trying to do the same thing, and it kind of scares the CCP because there is a lot of similarities that they're starting to notice.
You should be proud, Samantha. You should be proud to be somebody who can like undo the brainwashing and reevaluate your views. You shouldn't feel horrible at all. You should be like, that's rare. Evolving, reevaluating, reconsidering. That's like, it's so rare among people. So rare. You should be so proud. You're like one of the very few people who gets to do that.
And like the whole fucking time, I always was very patriotic Israeli. And that's the irony. Like, honestly, it's weird to say, but like looking back, there is no fucking way if I hadn't like, been to Israel and stayed in Israel and been so pro-Israel, there's no fucking way that I would right now still be in a communist cult and be spreading like CCP propaganda.
I'd like
Yeah.
to chime in for a second, if I may. Samantha, she is such a sweetheart, always apologizing and just feeling so down about it. But, we in our family, we tend to look at things that we've gone through. I get what you mean about feeling some shame. I hear you, although I don't agree that you should feel that way. But one thing that we like to do with things like that is kind of flip it and look at it as from the inside exactly how they get to others. You have something so amazing. Look at your time there as undercover, girl. Don't be worried about
Believe me,
that
there are
you.
things I want to say that I need to work on my PTSD more to like say them, but like there are things I have to say.
I believe in you. If there's anything that any of us could ever do to help that in any way, let us know. And you know who their victims are, right? You know who is susceptible to something like that based on the way that they got you. And yeah, you might have spent some time on that other side, but imagine all of the other great things that you could take that and do with it and save so many other people. So don't let it get you down. Definitely just something to fuel you forward. And we're all very, very happy that you're here.
And Samantha, like I used to be on the same side, in regards to those kinds of views. And it says a lot about you to be able to be, intellectually honest about the information that you encounter, right? If you're not willing to like, challenge your views and test it with evidence, you actually just have dogmas, right? You have to always be challenging your views, testing it with the facts, with the evidence, and changing your mind just shows that you're intellectually honest, that you're flexible as well, that you're willing to reevaluate yourself and to not consider yourself infallible, and that you can make mistakes and it's fine. We can't be like right about everything. So it's okay to change our minds about things, and to also it gives you an advantage because you can understand their logic way more now, so you can understand their arguments, why they argue that way, why they reason that way. So you can better counter that if you don't agree with it. But yeah.
I mean, I used to
You
be
reckon?
Antifa, and look at me now.
Oh yeah, hey, Susie's here. Oh, actually, you're right, Samantha. You and Susie are very much like each other because like she used to be deep inside Antifa.
Like, no, watching Susanna, watching your live streams, because it's like I watched live stream for a while before I started participating in the chat. That really helped me when I was dealing with that shit.
I'm
You have
so
way
happy
more
to hear
like
that.
social reach.
One book that completely transformed my life that I think would help you a lot is called How to Combat Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan.
Okay.
He's a cult survivor turned deprogrammer. I think you should read that book because it would probably give you a lot of language to understand your experience. It made me go like, "Oh, that's what that was. There's a name for that. I wasn't crazy." I think that would be really helpful for to you.
You know what's crazy?
Oh.
Like when Armin said how MEK would punish people for missing their family, I can relate because it took me months to be able to even just tell my parents I miss them without feeling like I'm being manipulative saying I miss someone.
Oh, this is so wholesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. You know, Samantha, a lot of who else relates with everything you're talking about? Ex-Muslims. Ex-Muslims also relate with you. You're basically, you know how also ex-Muslims are very valuable to expose the teachings of Islam? Basically, that's how you're also an asset now for us. The same when an ex-Muslim is.
There is a group in Facebook on ex-Muslims.
Oh yeah, there's tons.
No, like a main one, a big community. Like they have the red house, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. Like
the crescent.
The symbol, yeah, the symbol of the Islam, like in red and like forbidden.
Yeah. Okay. All right.